Oh, yeah.
What's that? Oh, purple is the color of the season. Oh, I think I've got it this time. Let's hear what Grace has to say.
Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.
If you guessed, I was right here by our Advent wreath, then you're exactly right. Nice work. Was it the pictures that gave it away, or maybe it was the passage that was all about the light that Grace read for us? That's right. So we are here by the Advent wreath, and this is one of the big symbols that our church uses as we are getting ready during Advent. So let's check it out and think a little bit about how Jesus is the light of the world. So the story behind the Advent wreath is kind of interesting because it actually started outside the church and it didn't have any churchy purposes at all. It started in some of the countries that are farther north, like Germany and countries in Scandinavia, where there's a lot of darkness in the winter. In fact, if you live in the southern part of Sweden, on the darkest day, there are only 5 hours of sunlight a day. 5 hours, friends. That's all you have before the darkness sets in, and it looks like night outside. And if you go to the very northern part of Sweden, you go up close to the Arctic Circle, they have 4 hours of sunlight during that day. Isn't that crazy? So it is a really dark place in the wintertime. So they developed a custom that was part practical and also part reminder. So they would have a group of candles, often on a wheel, and that wheel was to remind them of how the year turns and how the winter doesn't last forever, but instead it went around like the year. We have all the seasons of the year that make kind of a wheel, right? So they would take their light and they would light one of the candles. And they would light this candle both for practical reasons, so they could, see how to cook their dinner, or they could read something by the light of the candle. But they also lit candles so that it was a reminder that it would not be dark like this forever. The darkness is not going to last forever because slowly the light begins to grow. After that darkest night, slowly we get a little more light and a little more light and a little more light each day. So these candles would remind them of that and would remind them that there was reason to be hopeful that the light was going to return. Now, fast forward, a couple hundred years, and this German priest was working with some kids because his church was affiliated with a school, and this German priest was really tired of hearing the kids say, how many days till Christmas? How many more days until Christ is born? And so he took something that he had seen, this circle with candles in it, and he had an idea. This could be a way to help the kids count down the time between where they were right now and Christmas. And in fact, in his version, there was a candle for each day, so there were candles in between these big candles. So these big candles were Sundays, and in between, there were candles to mark each day. And so they would light another candle each day so they could count day by day until they got closer and closer to Christmas Day. Kind of cool, right? And over time, the church said, this is a great idea because this helps us have that feeling inside where we're anticipating and hoping for Christmas and we're excited about it, but we need a way to see how far away it is or how close it is, even better. So these candles serve as a way to do that. And the awesome thing about using light like this instead of some other symbol that might help us count is that the light also serves another purpose. The light has that physical presence that reminds us that even though things seem dark sometimes, that Jesus the light is coming to overcome it. Now, during Advent, we often read passages from the book of Isaiah in our Old Testament to help us understand what kind of world Jesus was born into. And because the words still speak to our hearts today, this is part of the living word that God has given us to help us understand how God is with us in the world. So, the prophet Isaiah in chapter 9 describes the people of God like this: the people who walked in darkness. Now, I don't know about you, but that does not sound fun to me. I've played tag at night, and it can be fun to play hide and go seek for a little while, but inevitably, because it's dark, somebody stumbles and falls and gets hurt, or I pick a really great hiding spot and it gets darker and darker and darker and a little scarier each minute, and pretty soon I'm making noises so somebody can come and find me in my spot. So the darkness and playing or walking in the darkness doesn't seem like a great idea to me. It's hard to tell where you're going. It's hard to tell what direction you're going in. And I wonder if Isaiah was describing the people who walked in darkness, if they were like the people in Sweden on the darkest night where there are only 5 hours of daylight, or if maybe Isaiah was talking about something else, maybe talking about their hearts feeling dark or heavy, maybe because they were confused, or maybe they were discouraged, maybe they didn't know which way to go, so they didn't know which direction to follow. Maybe they were wondering where God was working in their midst. They were a people that were searching for something more, right? And this is exactly where our passage for today comes in place, right? It can help us understand what's next, because Jesus tells us, I am the light of the world. Now, when Jesus says that, he doesn't say, if you follow me, you'll never experience darkness again. He doesn't say, you'll never see darkness. It will only be light from here on out. Isn't that good news? Tra-la-la. It doesn't say that. It says that if we follow him, we will not walk in darkness, but we will have the light of life. So, in other words, I don't think it will be like trying to play tag in the dark where we don't know exactly what direction to go. We don't know what's around the corner that might jump out and spook us. It's not like there's so much unknown there. Instead, when we trust that Jesus is our light, we have something to guide us in the darkness. So even when things feel heavy or dark, either on the outside because it's dark outside, or if it's dark in our hearts because we're feeling nervous or concerned about something or worried about something, that Jesus is our light, that phrase can help us think about how even in those dark moments, Jesus can shine a light there and show us what's next. Now, we bring the light of Jesus into worship every time we celebrate worship in the sanctuary. You will see an acolyte, the person dressed in a big robe, and they're leading the processional, the group of people walking in to worship, and they are holding this candle lighter. I'm sure it has a fancy name. I don't know what it is. Anyway, but the acolyte, the person bearing the light, brings the light of Jesus into worship every single Sunday in the sanctuary, and will go up behind the altar and light the candles. And that is our reminder that Jesus is with us. The light of the world is with us, and there is reason to hope. There is reason to believe that peace is possible. And during the season of Advent, the acolytes also use the light to light the number of candles that we are celebrating. So this week we are on our second Sunday of Advent. So we light 2 candles, the candle for hope and the candle for peace this week. And these also serve as those reminders that Jesus the light is coming. Because you can see already with 2 candles lit, we are 1 candle closer to the center. We are that much brighter, and the darkness seems that much farther behind us with 2 lights than it did 1. And so this Advent wreath can help us think a new way about how Jesus is our light and how Jesus helps us see our way out of the darkness, either around us or how we're feeling inside. So maybe you're wondering, what does this have to do with me? What does the Advent wreath have to do with what I'm going to be doing in school this week? And I'm glad you asked, because Jesus didn't just describe himself as the light of the world. He also described us as lights. Do you remember that song, This Little Light of Mine? And there's that whole part about, hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. And the idea that we catch light, just like the acolyte uses this light to catch the light on these candles, we catch Jesus' light too, and we let it shine for the world. So maybe you'll need to just turn on some lights to make it a little lighter in your house this week, just to remind people that brightness and the sunshine, they're coming back. Or maybe you see somebody that's feeling a little sad or a little confused, and maybe there's something you can do to be a light to that person. There's some way that, in the way that you listen to them and the way that you tell them you care about them, is a light to them. Maybe it is a problem that you can solve, and you can say, hey, it's okay if you didn't understand this thing at school. I understand it. Let me help you. And you can be a light. There are so many ways to be a light to the people around you, and that is your challenge for the week. I want you to think about how you are like one of these Advent candles, showing God's light in the world and reminding everyone around you the darkness does not have the last word. The light is coming. All right. Well, we'll see where I end up next week. It'll be another Christmas themed something. Can't wait to see what it is. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.